to date of silly poems written and narrated by Herb Schmidt and illustrated by Ben Schmidt. Jungle dawning. Over the jungle the sun is dawning. It is very quiet. It's a Monday morning. Monkey is getting up and he's still yawning. The frog wakes up on the lake and croaks, "Good morning," to Lady Snake. The lion stretches and gives a roar. The leopard who lives next door growls, "What is he so noisy for?" The birds are singing, "It's a new day." The lazy croc snarls, "Go away." The elephant trumpets, "Let's go for a walk." The parrot squawks, "No, let's talk." The giraffe is having morning tea, eating leaves from the nearest tree. The zebra is having lots of fun, getting ready for his morning run. But Hippo finds it all too boring. He's asleep and he's still snoring. The bear who did not want to change. In his cave, Herbie the bear was sleeping deep, right in the middle of his winter sleep. Then one morning there was loud banging and screaming, which made him fall out of bed still dreaming. What can all this noise be? I better have a look and see. What he saw gave him a terrible fright. It was a great, big, busy building site. Bulldozers, trucks, and lots of noise. The foreman shouted at the top of his voice, "What are you standing around for, jerk? Come, take that shovel and go to work." No, you've got it all wrong," shouted Herbie through the throng. "You see, this really isn't fair, because I'm only a poor little bear. You just didn't have a shave, and you may have come out of that cave, but that doesn't make you a bear, you see," said the foreman. "You can't fool me." Herbie knew that he could not stay, so he packed his bags and went away. He was sad to lose his home. That was all he had ever known. But soon he found a new cave by a hill, where it was safe and tranquil and still. So, if you ever come upon his peaceful cave, please don't wake him up and make him have a shave. The story of the green stone eaters. A long time ago lived stone eaters with big teeth, eating rocks as if they were cheese. They used to live under the ground, in caves and tunnels where juicy rocks could be found, in a time when even cavemen were not yet around. They had big round heads and just loved to eat. They had skinny legs and great big feet. They were short, stocky and green. And they didn't like to be seen. In fact, they were quite shy, and they were only 1 meter high. They had no hair, long fingers and small bones, but big teeth to crush their stones. They didn't know night from day, just having a great time munching away. One day, they ventured above the ground and realized what beautiful rocks could be found. On the beaches, nice and round, everywhere they looked, rocks did abound. So in time, many beaches on the land were turned into beautiful soft white sand. However, when cavemen come on the scene, they thought the monsters were ugly and green. They wanted their tooths that were made out of stone not to be eaten, but left well alone. So the stone eaters, the entire lot, went back to their original hiding spot. They didn't like to fight. They just liked peace and quiet. They are happy to live their own way. And you know, I think they are still there today. The Magic Flying Pig. I have a daughter and a son. They are both a real lot of fun. My daughter's name is Lenny and my son is called Benny. One night they went to sleep till Lenny jumped out of bed with a leap and woke up Ben saying, "Look at that! There's a flying pig in our room, big, white and fat." The pig said, "Call me Mike, and you can sit on my back if you like. I can fly you around, but please remember, don't make a sound. Come in and sit on my back. It's quite big, for I am the magic flying pig." He said, "I'm lots of fun," so off went my daughter and my son, flying out the window into the sky. Whoosh! Off they went, so fast and so high. All of them were feeling fine, having a fantastic time, above the clouds with a pig called Mike. over the town as the moon shone bright. But as all things come to an end, they had to come home and pretend that nothing had happened that night, while trying to sleep with their eyes shut tight. I still wonder to this day whether or not they really flew away, or as it may seem, perhaps it was only a dream. But then, why is it that on some magic nights, when the moon is shining bright, do I see a pig, big, fat and white, flying past saying, "Hi, I'm Mike." Willy the Sad Dragon. On a summer's day exactly 400 years ago, in the time of castles, knights and horse-drawn wagons, Willy sat on his lonely cave crying, "Oh, I'm the saddest of all dragons." The problem was breathing fire wherever he'd go, so he couldn't stop burning things down. That made him feel so very low, as people would look at him and frown. Even when he sneezed or coughed, there would be a fiery flame. This really turned people off, as it was no longer a game. On that day, Willy met Dave, the fearless knight, who had come upon his cave. There the knight saw a pitiful sight. "What's the matter, dragon?" asked Dave. So Willy told him about his dreadful plight, about burning things down and so on. Dave listened, as he was a friendly knight, and replied, No, come on." He continued, "I have a solution. Don't be silly. It's not so bad. Take heart. Now listen to me, my friend Willy," for he wasn't only fearless and friendly, but smart. "I have a big castle on top of the hill, so that's so cold it's almost freezing. You could warm it up for me if you will, and that would be the end of your teasing. Our castle will be cozy and warm. We'll have plenty of fun together. You don't have to be alone, and we don't have to mind the cold weather." Where there was a problem, a solution lay. As it's written on these pages, this was done 400 years ago to the day, right in the Middle Ages. Mr. Miller the Caterpillar. On a walnut tree lived Mr. Miller. He was a beautiful caterpillar. He dreamt often that he could fly, although he didn't know exactly why. One moonlit night, as it seems, he came to realize his dreams. That particular night, he awoke with a fright, because when he looked in the mirror, he wasn't anymore a caterpillar. And I'm telling you without a lie, he turned into a butterfly. Mr. Miller enjoyed his life without any worries or strife. He liked to fly for many hours around his favorite trees and flowers. Then one day, from the corner of his eye, he saw the most gorgeous looking butterfly. She was the most wonderful thing, with radiant colors on each wing that shone like rainbow in sunlight. And her name was Daniela Margaret Albright. She liked him a bit too, so they said, "I do." So now more than just one caterpillar goes by the name, you guessed it, Miller. Happy Larry. On his favorite iceberg without a care sits Larry, the happy polar bear. He likes to be on his own. The whole North Pole is his home. Icebergs so big and tall, it makes him look so very small. Ice, it almost never ends. Walrus and penguins are his friends. Seal and albatross are too. And there's always something to do. You don't have to ask them twice to play chasey around the ice. Sometimes they lose their grip, then they just play slippery dip. Another thing that amuses him is going for an ice-cold swim. And when he's hungry, there's always fish, be Larry's favorite dish. His fur keeps him nice and warm, even in a cold, cold storm. He likes to breathe the fresh, crisp air. He's such a happy polar bear. So, when you like the place you live, even if you hate raw fish, when you're happy as can be, you're happy as Larry, you see? The Bear and the Frog. One day, in the month of June, Herbie the bear sat under a tree. It was a sunny afternoon. He felt fine, except a little bored maybe. It was about 2:30. He was just hanging around. There was absolutely nothing to do, when suddenly he heard a sound. Down the lake was Albert Frog, jumping up, lashing and chasing flies, then resting on his favorite rock. Herbie thought, that would be nice. To swim like that little guy, I would really like that too. He thought to himself with a sigh, but I'm only a bear with nothing to do. But when the frog saw the bear, he had the same idea. "Ah, I'm only a frog. It isn't fair. I'd rather be him instead of sitting here. To be big and strong like this guy under a tree. Not to live in the water where it's wet, but running around feeling free. I think that's where it's at." At that very same time, Mary, the good fairy, was flying by, enjoying her life and feeling fine, as she heard Frog and Bear both sigh. She thought, it's not right to feel so sad on a day like today. I think I give them a good fright, so they see life in a different way. She changed Bear into Frog and Frog into Bear. In a flash, Herbie was sitting on the rock and Albert suddenly had lots of hair. You should have seen the looks on their faces when they realized what had gone on. They had miraculously traded places, which is what they wanted all along. At first they were happy with their new lot, but after 2 days of Mary's magic, Herbie said, "It's not that great being a frog," and the frog said, "I'm not myself, this is tragic." Bear's old friends thought he's a bit funny, because when they said hi, he didn't respond, he didn't even like honey. They scratched their heads wondering why. When Herbie caught flies for his dinner, he thought it tasted real bad. That certainly wasn't the winner. He sat on his rock feeling sad. But after 7 days of this, the spell finally came to an end. Herbie gave all his friends a kiss, and the frog was happy, as Herbie was his new friend. And that is the end of the story. I know not whether it's true, but it says, be yourself, be happy, don't worry, even if you are bored and have nothing to do. The invention of the radio. The Dark Ages weren't always so dark. Inventions were made and forgotten. For example, there was one bright spark. His name was Hans von den Socken. He invented, and you better believe what I say, the radio, and nothing less. It disappeared into history until this day. But he was a genius, I guess. It took him years of working hard building a radio without modern tools. He was just extremely smart. People laughed at him, the fools. He did get the invention off the ground. The radio was finally finished. But it made only a crackling sound. His friends laughed. The effect was diminished. So why did he not succeed in his task? Why did the radio not play? I hear you curious people ask. Well, there were no radio stations in that day. So Hans von den Socken got no credit for his work. He felt pretty darn rotten, for people called him a jerk. So it took a few more 100 years for Edison to come along and finally, after blood, sweat and tears, invent the radio again to play a song. So that's the end of that tale. Sad as it is, people strive to no avail, but justice is often only, just is. My daughter Lenny. The day didn't start off too well. When she got out of bed and fell on the floor and hurt her left knee. "I could have stayed in bed," said Lenny. Looking at the window, it was miserable weather. She thought, "I guess from now it can only get better." Then she arrived late to school. The big kids were nasty and cruel. And whilst playing schoolyard games, one of her friends called her names. So later that day when she got home, she felt quite down and alone. She said sadly, "It's a hard life, especially when you're only 5. Then she cuddled up with her cat on her bed, a special cat called Gingerbread. She began to feel better ever so slowly, not quite so sad and lonely. But it was really all right again when in toddled her brother Ben. They laughed, they hugged and had a good time. They tumbled, they tickled till soon she felt fine. And later I heard her say, "I guess it wasn't such a bad day." Thank you for listening to Herb's silly poems. It was fun writing them.